Hello and welcome to the first video update for version 2 of Game Theory. Just gonna go full screen right there. Awesome, guys. So we are really excited to talk about everything with the launch, everything that we've done and changed for version 2 and what we have coming up. So just to quickly go through, like we used to do, the statistics of where we migrated over from Phantom. So in terms of liquidity in the pool, we currently have $17,684 sitting in there in stablecoins. In the treasury, we have a 7,005 game tokens that have come from the farm and from the sales tax. And then we seeded our KOC lottery partnership with Gladiator Finance. We seeded that with 5,000 game tokens to get that lottery started off. And so that's where the treasury funds have been put. In terms of holders, we currently have 97 holders of game token, and we have 27 liquidity pool token holders. In terms of our social media channels, we've got 1,348 members of the Discord, and then our Twitter is sitting at 812 Twitter followers. In terms of volume since launch, we're sitting at about $8,000 in volume. And so far, we have had 80 credits of Altergene purchased and played of the game so far. So those are our statistics. In terms of the relaunch and kind of what we've seen so far is that all of the action is basically the community that was left with us on Phantom that migrated with us over to Avalanche. Like, that's the community that's been doing all of the interaction so far. In terms of just kind of highlighting what it is that we changed from version 1, why we changed that again, and kind of what the results that we've seen so far. So obviously the first thing that we changed was moving away from the algorithmic stablecoin model, going over to a single token model. So like, why is it that we did that? Well, the number one reason that we did that was from before, when we had the game token and when we had the theory token, was that the liquidity was then split. And also on top of that, having single-sided staking for theory in the boardroom means that our liquidity was split between 3 different places. So when we were at our all-time high of a 1.5 million in total value locked, only half of that was actually in liquidity, because the other half of that was just from single-sided being staked in theory. And even that half of liquidity, we had about $850,000 worth of liquidity. That was actually also split up between 2 different liquidity pools. And so what that meant is that that 1.5 total value, 1.5 million total value locked, that was all spread, meaning that we didn't actually have the power of it all concentrated into one liquidity pool. So if we had one liquidity pool that had $1.5 million in it, all in one spot, we would be able to absorb buys and sells at so much of a higher rate versus having a liquidity pool of 500,000 and 300,000. And so that's why we decided to consolidate that all into that single token model. And so that all the liquidity was going through one token, one liquidity pool. It meant that all the funds, all the stable coins that were coming in would just allow our liquidity to get deeper and deeper and deeper. In terms of emissions, that was the other thing that we changed, obviously, with Tombfork, with the emissions of the peg token from the boardroom and the emissions of the share token. A lot of tokens are getting printed in these protocols. So we decided to go with a much more stable number of emissions, where it double the amount of migrated tokens is what would be emitted from the farms as well. So depending on the price of gain, that average out somewhere, we estimate about 100% APR for the year. So still obviously 10 times what you get from any traditional investment in the stock market, but not giving out thousands or tens of thousands of percent of APR, having super high inflation going into the system, kind of just printing those changes, obviously probably the biggest change that we made so far. So having the swaps go on our Celestial exchange versus going on Trader Joe's or Pangolin, well, why is it we did that? Well, number one, it means that the trading fees, every time game is bought and sold, those trading fees are going to the protocol. So that means that's going to the treasury, it's going towards buying back and burning game tokens. So it means that the revenue that's coming from that, instead of that going to, before it was going to Spooky Swap, and then instead of on Avalanche going to Trader Joe's or Pangolin, that's going back to the protocol, which then going back to our holders. The other thing it allowed us to do is allowed us to have our sales tax. Now, as far as we're aware, the sales tax that we have with Game Theory is actually completely unique, because it's a dynamic sales tax. All the other protocols that have sales tax, almost exclusively, you see they have a set rate where it's like, the sales tax is this amount for buy, this amount for sell, this amount for sell, whereas our sales tax moves, and it's all based on the health of the liquidity pool. So the healthier the liquidity pool is, the in terms of how many sales have there been in a short space of time, and how much those sales were relative to the size of the liquidity pool, that determines what that sales tax is. So the healthier the liquidity pool is, the lower the tax is. The less healthy it is, the higher the tax is. And what that does is that really protects the protocol from having these massive bank runs, like you saw what happened with, UST, or basically most cryptos, when it's like the market started going down and you see this huge like exodus comes out. It protects the protocol, and which is really beneficial to all of our long-term holders. And what that does is that dissuades away people who are more predatory, people who are just looking to take advantage of the protocol. And it's to the benefit of people who are long-term holders who want to be with us as we develop that gaming ecosystem. And especially because we are building games, games take longer to develop than a lot of DeFi features. You can build a smart contract for a node a lot easier than you can building a game, especially a game that's genuinely fun, genuinely enjoyable, that's actually a real game. And so because that's our goal, the center of our ecosystem is these games, and it's something that takes more time, everything about the protocol is built for stability and to give us the time and give us the leeway that we need to be able to build and develop our ecosystem. The other part of having the sales taxes means we also have a very novel feature with our theory credits, which is that when the price of game is under $1, every single time there's a sell, there's an extra 10% that gets added onto the sales tax, and that goes directly to all the people that bought game under $1. So basically, buying game under $1 is giving you a share of the protocol sales taxes, and that's going to you directly in USDC. And then once game is over the price of $1, you're able to claim those tokens. So it's a really cool feature. It means you're getting paid directly in stable coins. And all you have to do is just buy game tokens when it's under $1. And then once game is over $1, you're able to then claim those stable coins as well. And so it gives a huge incentive people to buy the token when it's under $1. And we can only do that if we were having our own exchange. The other thing it allows us to do is to be able to host other projects. So you're not going to see really much of that in version 1 of our decentralized exchange, but in version 2 of the decentralized exchange, we're going to be expanding it massively. And that's when you're going to see partner projects come on to the DEX. And then we get to then benefit from those trading fees. That's going to go directly back towards the game token and directly towards our holders. On top of that, we've also developed Olympus-style bonds. So once they come live, people are going to be able to, instead of buying game directly from the exchange, they're going to be able to buy it directly from the treasury at a discount, and the benefit to the people buying it, they're getting it at a cheaper price than they would be getting it directly from the exchange. And then, and what they're doing in return for that is that those tokens don't just go to them straight away. It gets vested over a week when they get those tokens. And the benefit to the protocol of giving that discount is that the treasury is getting directly paid stable coins versus having to sell its allocation of game tokens to have those funds to use for things like marketing and development. So it's a win-win for our investors and for the treasury. The other thing we did is we optimized the gas on AlterGene. So AlterGene is now costs a lot less money than it did when we were on the Phantom chain as well, which is just good for the business expenses of the protocol. So we made a lot of different changes in terms of the protocol itself. And then in terms of chain, we migrated over from the Phantom chain over to the Avalanche chain. Why do we do that? A couple core reasons. A is like at the time of making the decision, Avalanche had 3.5 times the total value locked of Phantom. We're sitting at the number 3 spot, just behind Ethereum and Binance. So a bigger chain, bigger TVL means a much larger potential audience. The other thing is that it's huge for NFTs. There are so many different NFT projects on the Avalanche chain, and it's incredibly easy for us to partner with an NFT project because we have our games. We're able to work with those. We're able to use their NFT holders list and just add utility onto their NFT holders. So it's great for those NFT projects because now their NFTs have an extra source of utility, like being able to play AlterGene, our game. And it's great for us because we have our games, and so we have a source of utility that we're able to share with projects very easily. And the other thing is that Avalanche is huge for games. There are so many successful games on there. Obviously, DeFi Kingdoms being probably the biggest and the most popular, most well-known game as well. There's also a ton of other very successful games on the blockchain. So that, again, fits in perfectly with what we're building. And on top of that, long-term, having the ability to have our own subnet on the Avalanche blockchain as well, which will be able to tailor it specifically to our games, what we're looking to build. And so across the board, Avalanche just seemed to be a great option for us. So those are all the changes that we made to the protocol and why we moved over to Avalanche. And in terms of what our plans are moving forward, like how we're going to be going to, grow the community to attract more users to us. What our number one focus is organic growth through partnerships. So you already saw yesterday that we had our partnership with Gladiator Finance being hosted on their KOC. You've already seen, like last time I checked, the initial 5,000 game had already gone up to like 5,050 game tokens, and it's not even been a day yet. And that's just going to keep on going. So whoever's able to, play the game and like have the most patience play it out, that pot's just going to continue to grow and grow and grow. And it's going to be a sizable amount of money for whoever ends up winning that lottery. We have a partnership coming up with vending machines, NFTs, where they NFT holders are going to be getting introduced to AlterGene. So we should see some new community members coming over from that. We're working on the same thing with Egoverse, which is another NFT project. And behind the scenes, we're just in talks with a lot of different projects, a lot of people who are influential in the Avalanche space. So over the next, 1 to 2 weeks, and then moving forward, just like you saw with Gladiator Finance, this stuff we've been working on behind the scenes, you're just going to see a constant stream of new partners and new products who are going to be coming on board. And what that's allow us to do is to be able to get exposure for our project, because we really believe is like, going through everything we just spoken about with, our single token model, having our own decentralized exchange with Celestial Exchange, having master tokens, which actually I didn't mention, but the difference with master tokens before is that you were locking up theory tokens, which, like we spoke about, had their own liquidity pool, which actually what gave people an incentive to not provide liquidity in order to get the governance token. Whereas now with Master, you lock up liquidity pool tokens to get those Master tokens. So everything is driven towards having as much liquidity for the game token as possible. So having that single token model, having all the liquidity centralized in the game token, having the trading fees that we're getting from it, having our novel sales tax, having the theory credits for stablecoin payouts if you buy a game under $1, having bonds, optimizing all these features, we feel like the fundamentals of the protocol is actually way stronger than it was when we were on Phantom. But just the difference there was that A, the market was much healthier. B, Tomb Fork, something that was very well known, is like we knew a lot of other people in the Tomb Fork space. People just hear Tomb Fork, it was much easier for them to jump into it. So now our goal is to go out there and really just tell people and just get the message out there about game theory, because we really feel like all we need to do is just spread the message out. And once people actually see the protocol, see what we've built, they play AlterGene, and they're going to be like, wow, this is an incredible project. And then the capital is going to start flowing in. We definitely know that it's not going to go at the same speed that it did initially on, version 1, because again, the state of the market for sure, and us being it's an easy, just being a Tomb Fork, there are already people who just, any different type of Tomb Fork, they jumped into it. Whereas for us, it's like, we're more of a unique project right now. And so people are just going to need to like understand what it is that we're doing. But we really feel that over time, it's just going to get more and more and more popular as we partner with more projects, as we have more different social media partners as well. We're just going to see the community grow and grow over time. And we really believe that we are set up so strongly for the long term. That was always our goal. That was always the message that, we wanted to do. We wanted to build for the long term and create a protocol that was designed for the long term. But what we saw as a team was that the way that the actual protocol was built was not very conducive for long term, because of just the amount of inflation going into the system. Whereas now we feel like all those changes that we've spoken about, that we have made to the protocol, means that everything is set up so much for the long term. It's all about stability. It's all about giving us a platform to be able to build that gaming ecosystem. And we're just really excited about what we have got coming up. And just to finish off there with our roadmap, to recap, to see where we're at. So we now have, let's go back. So we now have completed the launch on Avalanche. So you see the game launch on AVAX, Celestial Exchange, AlterGene optimization, master token launch. All of that is launched. Bonding, it's launched, but we're just waiting for the treasuries and have enough game tokens in the treasury, which comes from the emissions from the farm, to then have enough to then be able to turn on bonding. So once there's enough game tokens in the treasury, we'll be able to turn on bonding. So that's where we're at so far. We've almost completed everything on that list. And so now the development turns to No Animals Harmed, so our second game. So all of our development time and energy is going to be focused on building and then launching our second game, which we're really excited about. Then after No Animals Harmed, then comes the NFT marketplace and Generation 2 NFTs. These are obviously NFTs are going to be specifically interacting with No Animals Harmed. And so that's why they're coming after the game is released. And then after the Gen 2 NFTs, we have our lottery coming out, and then our next smaller game, which is going to be poker. After that, we have our flagship game, which is our completely unique Celestial RPG game. So obviously that's where our decentralized exchange gets its name from. And so that game we're the most excited about. It's going to be the biggest game that we're building. It's going to have a really, really cool world, a great free-to-play game that's going to have NFTs within the game, and then through the NFT marketplace, that's going to be a way for people to be able to make money, is accumulating those different skins, weapons, items, gear, and then be able to upgrade those over time, and then they can take them to the marketplace and they can sell them. Then we're going to be planning once Celestial is released, then we're going to get a massive audit done across all of our different features. We wanted to wait for us to have those games out before doing an audit, because if we did it before, we still need to do another one afterwards. So once Celestial is out, then we're going to get a big audit done on the entire protocol. Another smaller game coming out, we're going to have our version of chess out there too. And then after that, we're going to be working on expanding Celestial, the RPG game, and the version 2 of our decentralized exchange, which is going to be a huge protocol for us, something we're really excited about. So as you can see there, guys, there are so many different items on that roadmap. All the changes that we've made to the protocol, all the items that we have coming up on our roadmap, we are unbelievably confident in what it is that we're building here, and we're putting in all the time and effort behind the scenes to attract more users, to attract more holders. We really look at it like, through the bear market, our goal is just to really build a strong, tight-knit community. And then when the market turns around, we'll really look at us being in a position to really explode once that fresh capital starts coming back into the wider crypto market. But in general, we're very excited about what it is that we're building. We look at this, where we're going to be at in 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. That's how we're thinking. We're not in this for the short term, as hopefully you guys have seen with us so far. Through the ups and downs, we're still here, we're still building, and we're really excited about what we've got coming up. So thanks so much for anyone, guys, watching this video on